Hey, Chris.
All right, you're up. Okay.
Hey, people.
I see Lucian.
All
Yeah.
right. Cool. So we got it.
I don't know if Jason's aware that this is going on.
That's fine. He can come in later. So yeah, let's introductions. Hi everybody, I'm Chris.
I'm Carissa.
I'm Lucian.
And I want to hang out more with my friends, and we're all busy and in our 30s, and so this is really the only way that we can really hang out. So yeah, so let's talk about our random encounters during the week. Did we encounter anything interesting in the world of gaming or tangential subjects?
I had a random encounter on a hangout on air with you just last night.
Yep.
That's about it.
I've been squeezing in a bunch of world building, which is always satisfying.
Did you get your? Did you figure out the circumference of your world yet, Lucian?
Look, it changes. I've kind of abandoned that, and I'm focusing on smaller scale areas for now. Because inevitably what happens if I try to start with figuring out the habitable zone and the everything about the astronomy behind it, then when I get to making a map, I want to start with plate tectonics. And I don't have the time for that. Or the degree. Although I'll get the latter.
There you go.
It's a good excuse. But yeah, so I'm trying to focus on like individual cities for a while and develop cultures, and I have people escaping religious persecution and all kinds of stuff going on.
Okay, excellent.
Yep, I'm having fun with it.
Awesome. I just got my playtest packet for the Fate of Cthulhu. Actually got it like 2 nights ago, but I got a chance to read it last night. I'm really excited about it. It's kind of interesting. The dogs seem to be very excited about it. Major. Come on, guys. Come here. They seem to be very excited about it. And I'm excited about it. I'm really excited to try to play it. I think they do capture what they say on the tin, which is it's going to be, Terminator meets H.P. Lovecraft. And so I'm excited to try to get some playtesting done this weekend.
Yeah, definitely.
Sounds good.
Are we still going to try to do 3 different games by 3 different DMs?
Hopefully, we'll see.
Because I'm still cool, so I'm down to run something in Cthulhu.
Yeah, that'd be fun. So we'll definitely see. And it's 3 minimum that we have to do. So we end up doing like more. That's all the better.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, hopefully we'll all have a little bit more time over the summer at least.
Mm-hmm.
I know I'm still going to have class prep and stuff going on and the grant project thing that I'm working on at the beginning of summer, and you never have time, but.
Well, I have a regular schedule, so I can work around that.
Yeah, so hopefully we'll be able to find more time to squeeze in some games. I'm almost shifting away. I'm shifting away from the idea of longer campaigns and really favoring like more one-off scenarios, I think, right now. I mean, I still want to do larger campaigns, but it's so hard to orchestrate them and get everyone there. And at least for me, if I'm the one running it, difficult to just get everything planned in time. So
it works better, I think, at this stage to do more episodic type narratives, I think.
Yeah.
I can't wait to share the playtest packet with you guys because of that reason, but I'm gonna keep that under wraps until I can clear this with the NDA. talk more about it. But the other game that I'd mention for this is Shadow of the Demon Lord. It's a game that's built to be played in 10 sessions.
Oh, okay.
Like it has a narrative build up to where you start off as level nothings, and then you face down the Demon Lord at like the 10th session. So that's it. You know, you get 10 sessions, you get 10 levels basically of progression. At the end of every session, you level up.
Sounds good. Yeah, I like games that have a quick progression too. So that's definitely appealing to me for a number of reasons. But I've also I don't know anything about it. Like I literally just found it last time we were playing, I think. But I'm really interested in The Strange, Monty Cook's other game.
That is not where I thought this was going.
You made this joke already.
It sounds like the little bit I've read, it sounds interesting, and the reviews I've read have typically said that it's a really good rule set. So,
well, Monty Cook,
I might buy the PDF and see if we can't squeeze in a session of that somewhere and check it out too.
I mean, Monty Cook knows what he's doing. I mean,
yeah, I'd love to do some Numenera stuff too, because it's I'm on the fence on the system still. I haven't done enough in Numenera to know how I really feel about the rules. It's definitely got kind of a Fate-esque feel to it that lends itself to, I think, more cinematic roleplay, which I love. Why I was always a fan of the concept, not necessarily the execution, but a fan of the concept of like the old World of Darkness Exalted stuff, which was all about pulling off ridiculous maneuvers. So yeah, Numenera's got some cool mechanics to it, but I really like the lore. It's a fascinating world that I'd like to explore more. Puppy.
Yep. So that's the major. Leave the kitten alone.
Oh, was that
Numenera is very much so the Jack L. Vance world.
Yeah.
Playing Earth. So Carissa, I don't know if Jason has Numenera, the CRPG, Tied to Torment Numenera.
Yeah, I don't know.
But if he does, that's one that you could check out. Or there's plenty of on Project Alpha, they've got a Let's Play or Learn to Play about Numenera. This might be the one that makes me. Well, no, Tox Machina would be the one that would make me join Alpha, but that would be. That would also be an extra benefit is the Numenera stuff. So, Lucian, do you want to explain what the ninth world is?
So essentially, it's ostensibly still a medieval fantasy world, but the basic lore is that there have been 8 prior worlds. Each one of these worlds is an advanced civilization that has developed and taken over the planet and had a successful long run, and then somehow got wiped out. And so the entire world is built on the ruins of these prior 8 civilizations. The current inhabitants don't understand most of what it actually is. There's clouds of nanites that just destroy like everything they touch. That just cruise around the world. There's massive machines that just continue to operate in the core of the planet that nobody knows who built them or what they're actually doing. There's still satellites in orbit from prior civilizations. But the people don't really understand all of that. But some of the technology they have managed to figure out a purpose for, if not its intended purpose. And so they call them, I think, ciphers, and I forget what the other term is now. But essentially, it's previous tech. And so you'll find, a small egg-shaped object with a pin in the top, and Well, if you pull the pin, you find out shortly after it explodes, and hopefully you weren't holding it anymore. But I love the idea of introducing modern tech or even sci-fi tech into a medieval fantasy world in such a way that it's not necessarily its intended purpose.
Yeah.
Purposing things. And just the opportunity to describe modern tech and see if the players pick up on
what you're talking about.
They know what that is. Like, you know, the grenade's a pretty easy one to describe, but you probably get pretty elaborate with some stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just a cool concept of a world that's highly developed and so worked over. I think it even describes at one point that the dirt isn't even really natural anymore. If you actually analyze it, it's just all rust and nanites, and pretty much everything's artificial and just left over from previous worlds. But, yeah, It's an interesting concept.
I agree.
Other puppy.
So yeah, Carissa, that's that, and that's also basically the Dying Earth series from Jack L. Vance, where we get the term Vancian magic from.
Yeah, I knew he was the guy behind the Vancian magic. I just didn't know what you meant, or what Jason meant by that.
Yeah, that should be a fun topic for another one, actually. But today, I want to talk about Healing Word.
Oh, good.
So, at least 3 places, I've seen at least 2 YouTube videos about this. One was Taking 20, and the other one was Garage Quest, talking about this debate about whether Healing Word, the 5th edition spell, is too good or not. And so the main reason behind it was that Healing Word, as you know, is a bonus action, right?
Yep.
To cast.
60-foot range?
Huh?
60-foot range, right?
30-foot range, if I remember right. But actually, you know what? Let's check. Let's go to our handy dandy D&D Beyond. D&D Beyond, I would love it if you were to sponsor us. So D&D Beyond, by all means, please feel free to sponsor this channel. All right, so let's do this sharing. All right, we're going to go to Healing Word. It is a 60-foot, yes. 60-foot spell, 1 bonus action, verbal component, instantaneous 1d4 plus spell casting ability mod, right?
Yeah.
Bard, Cleric, Druid.
What? Sorry, first level?
First level.
Ooh.
So, does anybody see why that's a problem?
I didn't catch what you said.
So, Healing Word.
No, there's something about a problem. Did you say tell us why it's a problem?
Yeah.
Or? Okay.
Anybody know?
Let us die.
Let us die?
Let us die. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really... It's not... So, I don't think the problem is the healing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the access to healing magic, whatever. I think the DM might have to tweak encounter difficulty in other ways or something, but to adjust. But I don't think that necessarily itself is breaking. Where I see an issue with it is first level for a wide variety of classes, both divine and arcane as Bard. Pretty much any caster is going to be walking around with that. And the bonus action at range heal is not new. 3.5 had that. There was Close Wounds from Heroes of Battle? Miniatures Handbook? I don't know. It's been a long time since I've looked through 3.5 splat books.
But it was in the compendium, the spell compendium, I remember. So it was at least in that one. Yeah,
I think they did make it into spell compendium too. But It was a close range spell, so that was back when they had close, medium range. So close was 25 plus 5 feet per every other level or something. So it was smaller range at low levels anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And it was 2d4 damage flat. And it was a swift action. So now it's all bonus, but swift actions used to be, they were magic instants. You could do them during somebody else's turn.
Essentially a reaction.
Yeah, it was a reaction. And so, in that case, it was even more powerful because the whole idea was most healing magic was all touch range. And if a person went down in battle on the other side of the battle, the cleric could snap a quick at range minor heal just to stabilize them until they could get better healing. I love that spell. Whenever I played a cleric, and they were one of my favorite 3.5 classes, so I played them frequently. That was one of my go-to spells. But I don't think it was cleric only. It might have been cleric druid, but at that point, there were so many classes by those books that who knows where it all ended up. But it was primarily cleric and third level. And so it was a very powerful tool, but it wasn't first level accessible. And I think that's where Healing Word has its problem, is it's just so accessible. Now, again, like I started with this, I don't necessarily think that breaks anything. It just means it's more work for the DM to make encounters that are challenging for the party.
And I think that the problem comes with people's understanding of hit points. Because they say it doesn't feel realistic that they get knocked down and they're bleeding out, and then we just shout a healing. The bard shouts some arcane words of encouragement at them, and then they get back up. This is assuming, of course, that we're taking our hit points to be actual vitality, actual like when you take a hit point hit, you're actually losing. You're actually being physically injured.
Yeah.
1 second. Come here. Leave him alone. All right. So that's the whereas Tim Kask in one of his live streams, Tim Kask, one of the original developers, he talked about hit points being more nebulous than that. It's more like in wrestling, when they take the open palm slaps, we're not actually supposed to believe that they're actually doing damage to them, but the fiction of the story is that, oh wow, look at that, they're getting beat up, and we know that they're trained to take the falls and to take the bumps. Now, of course, it actually does hurt to get hit on the mat, but not to the extent that the fiction of the wrestling sells, right?
Yeah.
And so the 4th edition was really great about that, about this understanding of healing being about your hit points being more metaphorical. It's the amount of resistance to damage you take before you actually get hurt. And so that's part of it. And so that when you drop to 0, that's when you're knocked down, you're knocked out, that's when, again, going back to wrestling, that's when they're ready to get pinned,
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. I had never heard it described that way, I guess, especially not by like a designer, in any official capacity anyway. But and I had never, I guess, put it into words before, but that's always been my take on hit points. It justifies how a person can get, a barbarian at high level can get hit for 50 hit points and just shrug it off like nothing happened, right? Mm-hmm. Arm should be cleaved off or something at that point, and that should be having some kind of effect. So yeah, I've always kind of viewed it, I guess, as just how much you can deal with before it actually starts taking its toll. I think systems that, like Shadowruns, that apply penalties based on damage taken are closer to representing an actual physical damage. You've taken so many wounds that it is affecting your performance moving forward.
Yeah, Warhammer does a similar thing for their 40K systems, and I think Fantasy Battle, although or Fantasy Roleplay, I've never played any of the WFRP stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I like both options. So,
and so here's my thing about everybody who thinks that it's too good. Is that so? Lucian, you played healers. Carissa, you're barely starting to play one.
Mm-hmm.
And I tend to play healers as well. If you remember in 3.5, if you were the cleric, Lucian, what did you do?
If I was playing a healing cleric,
well, if you were playing the cleric, what did everybody expect you to do?
I mean, you were the heal bot, and you were a buff bot, essentially.
Yeah. And every turn, were you supposed to attack?
No.
No.
It was normally, it was, okay, turn 1, prayer. Turn 2, bless. Turn 3, other buff. Turn 4, people are getting hurt, start healing.
Yeah. And so I want to show something here. The Paladin class, right? 5e?
Mm-hmm.
Does not considered one of the healing classes.
Yeah.
Even though at level 1 they get lay on hands, right?
Yeah.
Lay on hands is a much more efficient healing in 5e than cure wounds.
Yeah.
Or than
healing word.
Yeah. Because you can the only hit point that matters is that last hit point, right? So if you're at 1, you're still able to deal as much damage as if you were at 10, right? So the Paladin could pump out at level 1, could pump out 5 heals for just 1 hit point, 1 hit point, 1 hit point, 1 hit point, right? But they could keep their party alive 5 times. And that's not even counting all their spells or anything like that. But the Paladin is not considered a healing class. And nobody would say a Paladin is a healer until they get to level 9, when they get their Oath of Vitality, which is a bonus action.
Can we look at Oath of Vitality?
Sure. Go to spells, which is actually considered to be a better spell than, which is considered to be a more robust healing spell than the clerics can pump out. Yep. Maybe it's not Vitality. Or Aura, I'm sorry, not Oath.
While we're looking that up, just to compare Lay on Hands to Healing Word, I think the difference is not the amount of healing it can produce. Because like you said, it's only that 1 hit point that really matters.
Yeah.
It's that the Paladin may be able to do more with it, but the Paladin is also an action at touch range.
Exactly my point. It's an action. And
it's a bonus action at 60-foot range that makes Healing Word questionable. Again, I'm still not saying it's broken. I don't necessarily think it is.
It makes it fun, because otherwise, as the cleric, the druid, and even the bard, all 3 archetypes who are considered healer archetypes, all 3 classes who are considered the healer classes.
Yeah,
they are they're allowed to get Healing Word, and that's what makes all the difference in whether or not they're considered a healer or not. Because then they can still do everything else.
Yeah.
Aura Vitality has got a 30-foot range, so still pretty good. And you can use a bonus action to cause 1 creature to heal 2d6 hit points. Now, it's a 3rd level spell for a Paladin, so they don't get that until level 9.
Well, and that's way more in line with like Closed Wounds. It's a little bit shorter range, but 3rd level. bonus action, swift action, whatever you want to, you know. Timing is different, but the same kind of class, I think. Forgot what I was going to say. But yeah, so that the Aura of Vitality seems pretty in line.
Yeah,
and very nice spell.
And so that's what I'm saying though, is that bonus action is what allows it to be considered to be that makes the class feel viable, because otherwise, yeah, you're just a heal bot, and it pushes you to play in a certain way. And I think that's what a lot of people who complain about Healing Word forget, is that, oh, you know, it's not fun to just have everybody assume that you're going to be the healer.
Yeah.
And so, especially when you've got so many other spells, so I think Healing Word needs to be in there, because otherwise nobody would play anything but a life cleric, because then they have to heal, they have to do all this, you know, so they might as well just go all in, versus a druid now can heal, the bard can heal, you know, so it's definitely, I think, not a debate.
Well, I feel like they started that with 4th edition.
Yeah.
3.5 heals were hard to come by. You know, not a whole lot of classes got them. They weren't all that large. And so clerics had things like spontaneous casting of cure, so they didn't have to just prepare a list full of cure spells. They could prepare a normal arsenal and then swap them out for cures as needed. So that was good. But heals were hard to come by. In my experience, at least, what normally stopped a party for the day, would force them to find that time to rest, wasn't they were low on hit points. It was they were low on spells. You know, they had pulled out all the stops and used everything they had in their arsenal for that day, and that's what was stopping, right, from proceeding. Because the next time they got hurt, they didn't have the spells to cure it, right? 4th edition, and I never played a whole lot of 4th because I did not like a lot of things about 4th. But it seemed like 4th edition kind of put heals in everyone's hands.
Yeah.
There were a whole lot of like self-healing and stuff like that. And then 5th edition kind of found the nice compromise between no heals in 3.5 and too many heals in 4th. And they put a nice amount of healing into a variety of different classes, which means you don't have to have the same party dynamic. You don't have that conversation at the beginning of every game, which, okay, who's playing the cleric?
And who's playing the rogue?
Yeah, who's playing the cleric, who's playing the rogue? You can split those up a little bit more, have a couple of other options, you know, have a druid, have a bard instead of a cleric, whatever, which is awesome, right? It's really nice to not have to force a specific party dynamic. And the extra healing just helps them go further. And, I mean, nobody gets to 6 encounters, but that's the dream, right? Oh,
well, that's a different topic. We had one conversation about that before.
Yeah, I haven't finished watching that one yet, but I've started it. But forgot where I was going with this. But yeah, so putting more healing out there just helps the game keep going, right? And I don't think that's a bad thing. If it means the players get through more encounters in a day, great. If it means the GM gives them the same number of encounters, but modulates the difficulty of those encounters so that those extra heals are needed a little bit more frequently, great. You know, it's not game breaking. It's just game rebalancing. I don't know.
And another thing we've encountered is that the healing doesn't outpace the damage.
No, it really doesn't. It really doesn't.
The standard heal spell, and if you look in the DMG, one, there's no healing cantrips.
Yeah.
Heals are never done at will. Mm-hmm. So every healing spell is a resource burned, right?
Yep.
2, the heal spell is a D8. A first level spell in the DMG, if you go into the creating your own spell, starts off at a D10. So they say that a damaging spell should be at a D10. Your heal spell should be at a D8, and it just scales from there. That a third level heal is 3D8, a third level damage is 3D10. And as we've seen from the monsters, assuming that you're in a low magic or medium magic campaign where everybody's not running around in +3 armor with defender longswords or bracers of armor or anything like that, the dragon's going to hit you.
Yeah.
Right? The big monsters that our DM Jason loves favors have like +13 to hit. They're going to hit.
Yeah.
You know, even and there's not a whole lot else that bumps up the AC in 5th edition. So you're going to get hit, and you're going to get hit a lot. And so when the cleric or the bard or the druid or the multi-class paladin has to spend some of their spell slots to get that extra healing in, you're using their resources, and that's what the game is designed to do. And they are getting a diminished return on their investment of that resource. You know, you can we can talk about like special effects and how status effects are great, but like WebDM says, death is the quickest status effect to end a battle. So if the cleric's using their healing word, they're not using guiding bolt, right? Which is a 3d6 damaging spell, 4d6, 3d6, something like that. So that cleric's not using one of the better level 1 offensive spells, which also grants advantage on the next attack. So the cleric has to choose, okay, am I going to heal or am I going to use that? And so it's a fun push and pull right there, but they don't have to just heal. So I think it's definitely not a problem. It's a feature.
I'll agree with that. Yeah.
And Carissa, you were saying that you seem to want to die.
Well, I think that with healing word, it takes away the lethality. Like we talked about last time, it just doesn't seem like a dangerous game. Yeah, okay, I'm going to get hit. I'm going to get hit a lot, and I'm going to get lots of hit points back too. Not all of them, but I don't have to get back all of them, you know. And that's why I just think it's overpowered for what it is. And I kind of agree with it seems OP for being available at first.
So you think you'd take it out?
Well, I mean, if it were up to me, it would either not heal as much, or it wouldn't have as long of a range, or it would be available at a higher level.
I think higher level is probably my thought on it, but yeah. I can see that, and I love a lethal game. Like, give me a lethal game anytime. I like running them, and I like playing in them.
I'm judging this against the likes of like a Darkest Dungeon type of thing, and the healers in Darkest Dungeon don't do a whole lot of healing. I mean, you lose a lot of characters in that game. So you have to be really smart. And again, like we were talking about last night, I feel like there's too many cop-outs to where you don't have to be smart. You can be completely stupid. You can Leroy Jenkins it and still survive. And to me, that's a problem.
Yeah. I'd be interested in seeing... Well, no. No, I'm going with that. Yeah, I think some of that, a lot of the lethality in a game, I have a hard time pinning the lack of lethality entirely on the amount of healing available, because the lethality in the game relies a lot on the GM,
Sure,
and
yeah,
how little they try to make it. Sorry?
Oh, I just said, yeah, no, I understand and agree with you.
Oh, yeah.
On that, too.
You know, and most of our 5e experience has been with Jason, who doesn't
It
usually...
was way too easy on us. Yeah.
I don't think so, but...
Look, I've lost a lot of characters, but that's because I intentionally do a lot of really stupid things.
Yeah, Lucian does do a lot of stupid things intentionally because, and we were talking about this last time too, like if you want to swap out your character and try a different thing. Sorry, I'm just took this off because I'm moving around. But if you want to try out different characters, which I get the impression that Lucian does, you know, you can sort of sacrifice yourself. You can put yourself in really bad situations to where it's like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna die.
Yeah.
But if you care about your character to the extent that, oh, I actually want this same one to keep leveling up and I don't want to lose this character, I'm attached to this character,
yeah,
there's a pretty good chance you're gonna survive. And again, yeah, that's how I feel that that's how Jason runs the games. I don't know if somebody else, but even still, I mean, it just, I feel that a lot of the spells, and again, as playing as primarily a spellcaster, I feel that the spells in 5e are just too overpowered for the low level. Again, like I've said, the cantrips are way too much too.
What is it?
Some of the cantrips can be, yeah. The like, Eldritch Blast as a cantrip seems like it might be a little... I mean, now that's the defining... The Warlock class was defined by their Eldritch Blast, but making it a cantrip changes the power level of the cantrips, I think, a little bit.
Yeah.
That's a conversation for another time, probably. But
well, I'm curious to hear about this because so it does a D10 damage, right?
Scaling.
But well, let's talk about it. So D10 at first level until fifth level, right? Then it does 2d10. A fighter with a longbow does a D10, and then 2d10 when it gets a second attack, and then when that scales up to third attack, you can get 3d10.
Yeah.
So it's just a longbow if you really look at it like that. I mean,
it's not outrageous, but I don't know, and I haven't messed around with it or looked at all the cantrips and stuff, but it does seem like it changes the power level of a lot of the cantrips. I mean, or it would outpace a lot of the other classes' cantrips.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, a lot of the other cantrips are a lot of them have extra attributes just beyond doing damage.
True.
So, for instance, the cleric ones, the Sacred Flame is it ignores cover, right? So there's that. The Chill Touch imposes disadvantage. Oh wait, no, I'm wrong. Longbow does a D8 piercing, but you can also add your dexterity modifier to that. So
yeah, of course, that's also one attack roll versus 3 separate attack rolls. 2 separate attack rolls.
For which one?
For Eldritch Blast versus...
No, Eldritch Blast is a separate attack each time.
For each D10?
Yep.
Really?
Yep. Firebolt is the one that you're thinking of. Firebolt does the D10 on all 3.
Is Firebolt D10?
Yep, Firebolt's D10. Allow me to use D&D Beyond. D&D Beyond, if you are listening, I would more than happily sponsor your channel, D&D Beyond. So spells.
Oh, no, you're right. You're right. Multiple beams.
Filter.
Okay, that adjusts things a little bit.
Yeah. So yeah, Eldritch Blast is a 1d10, 2 beams, 3 beams, 4 beams, versus Firebolt, which is a 1d10 fire damage.
Yeah, single.
Yep. 2d10, 3d10.
For some reason, I was thinking Firebolt was like D6 or D8, so that was lower damage.
No, yeah, this one.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, I hear you, Carissa, that it might be, you might consider it to be a little bit overpowered, but then I like how much they scaled the damage up in 5e. That everybody feels like they hurt. If they hit, everybody hurts. It's a veritable REM song. So, and yeah, and again, I do think there's a design feature in 5e to where from 1 to 5, you're a nobody and you're going to die.
Yeah.
From 5 on, you've now made a name for yourself. And that's why I'm kind of excited about the Stronghold and Streaming Kickstarter. Well, like the playtest rules is that, you know, as you get into this power, that you become more powerful. Of course, you would get this physical representation of the power. And then it is on the DM to give you a reason to still have to go adventure and get the loot. And this is also probably why a lot of the published adventures don't go above like 10th level. They all stay about 1 to 10, because how do you get the Lord of Dunsany Keep to leave Dunsany Keep? I mean, they're fine there, you know.
Yeah, they're ready to retire.
Yeah, and actually, that's the way it was played in the old days.
Yeah.
For the OD&D stuff, when you got to level 7 or 7 to 10, that character got put out to pasture. And you rolled up the new one and you started leveling them up until you got to something that was really, really nasty, like a mind flayer or something. And then you go run and get your 10th level guys and you sack the dungeon that way. And so it was, you know, comparatively with WoW, you know, you'd get to end tier, and then until it was time to do a raid, you'd put that character away until you had to do a guild raid. And then, yeah, you got out your 80th level guy to go after that epic mount. And that's, you know, that's all you do. Then you'd grind back to 1. And
or I'm just saying, PvP is always an option.
Or you'd spend your time doing PvP. Yeah. So, but that's the game, and that's the kind of narrative that is there, and it's the one that you can reinforce kind of with the world. And depending on how big your world is, how bad your world is, in other words, like how many golden dragons and red dragons and things exist in the world. Because then a 10th level fighter is not done. You know, yeah, they might have their stronghold at level 10, but they got to get better. They got to keep going and protecting it, because the dragon will come the next day. You know, as soon as they're at level 10, they're ripe pickings for the dragon. So they got to keep they got a level 1 keep, but now they got to add more fortifications, do all this other stuff. So they need gold for that. So they got to, you know, sell themselves out to the highest bidder to get more gold, or go to the, you know, they heard about this secret treasure that they got to go with, this adamantium armor that they need to protect themselves from the dragon. So they got to go, and they're probably going to survive until they get to, the dragons, which can really mess you up. And yeah, it is that at high levels, you do have to be a lot more intentional with your lethality and not accidental with your lethality.
Yeah.
But yeah. So I'm interested, Carissa, in trying to find a game that would scratch that itch for you of the lethality, that level of lethality.
Well, and I think this goes along with my problem with fantasy in general, though, because what is fantasy at? I mean, in general, obviously, there's going to be exceptions to the rule, like we've talked about before. But it's typically good guy goes on a quest, good guy either gets killed on quest or good guy gets stronger and presumably better. I mean, yeah, alignment can shift and all that, but generally speaking, you're probably going to be in a good party, or at least at worst neutral, probably.
Yeah, that's the assumption.
And yeah, and so as you get bigger and stronger and um, you know, uh, more and more close to being what's it, invincible, I guess. It just, you kind of lose the need to do anything. What I would see in real life is as you kept getting bigger and stronger, you're more likely, more prone to being corrupted by something.
Mm.
And see, I think that would be fun to say, like, okay, now I'm 10th level, and yeah, I could still defeat all these bad guys and these monsters and, big bad evil guys. But now I'm rich and wealthy and uh, wanting to do bad stuff, right?
We need to
But
play Fate of Cthulhu.
another thing that I was thinking when you were talking about the stronghold and all that, so I was thinking about my Clash of Clans and Clash Royale stuff, because in Clash of Clans I've already gotten the highest level town hall that I can get. I still keep playing the game, and I was thinking, why am I still playing this stupid, idiotic game? And it's because I'm getting something out of it beyond just making improvements to that. I like doing the events that they have periodically. So to me, a lot of times, well, again, like we talked about last night, I don't think that combat's the most exciting part in D&D. But if there's some kind of an event going on, once you get to a higher level to where it's maybe less likely that you would need to keep going out and adventuring, unless, of course, you've got expensive taste at your stronghold. Um, I think it would be interesting to have some kind of a special other thing that your adventuring party gets together to do. But again, I'm more into the traps and the riddles and the puzzles and things like that than I am into the actual combat encounters.
Yeah.
So yeah, this was a very interesting topic, and so I think we've got some follow-ups for future streams.
I know we got off of healing word, but
I think you get to the point is that people who don't like healing word don't like or want more of the lethality.
yeah, I
And
just think I feel like the game's a little too easy. As with, I mean, I think I agree that there should be healing. I just don't know that I agree with the way healing is done
mhm.
or the options that are available.
And so that's an interesting concept in that it's about the different play styles and what the assumptions that 5e is operating under. And that's where I was talking about like the 6 encounter workday.
Yeah.
That's an assumption that that player lethality at high level becomes a moot issue. That's what we're talking about. And so then the question is finding the game that either scratches that itch or is at least a different flavor. Like, we don't always want to eat, Italian. Sometimes you want to have other, sometimes you want to go out for sushi. And
Just give me permission to run a really lethal game, and I will happily do that.
I'm down. I mean, I would, if you're intentionally planning to run a game that everybody, total party kill before we even level up, I'll just make a character that will be fun that I won't mind losing.
Well,
I would definitely be
so
in.
I ran a Ravenloft campaign once, and I knew I wanted to make it lethal. So I told everybody going in, I gave them a very high 0.5 for stats. So they all came in with ridiculously good stats.
Mm-hmm.
It was 3.5, and I had them run Gestalt characters. So Gestalt rules in 3.5, where you pick two classes, leveled up in two classes simultaneously, taking the best of both worlds. So
the best of both holes.
the best of both holes. So you would take whichever class had the better fort save, you'd get that fort save. Whichever class had the better will save, that one would reflex, the better BAB, the better hit die, the better skill points, everything. So you came in with characters that very rarely had weak saves. They had good hit points. They had good pretty much everything. You got a bunch of like combination arcane casters and fighters because they went like fighter wizard or something. Mm-hmm. So ridiculously high power characters, right? But I told them coming in that I'm letting you play these ridiculously powerful characters because I am going to put you in situations that it will be very difficult for you to survive. And by the time that campaign ended, I had killed everyone in the party except for one guy twice, at least twice per character.
Wow.
They were dying left and right. One of them died, came back in, died again, and then they brought back his original character. Yay magic in Ravenloft.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, he wasn't quite right when he came back, but it worked out.
Yeah.
The guy that I didn't kill was playing a Duskblade cleric and intentionally built his character to be survivable, and I almost killed him too. Damn you, Steven.
Yeah.
That's so close. So close with a party of drow, a shadow dragon. But yeah, and I loved that campaign. I loved being able to take the gloves off and not be afraid of killing a character.
Yeah.
I don't want to kill a PC. I want to make the PCs fight for their survival. I want them to come to the brink of death and then survive. Because I know what it's like to get attached to a character and then have that character killed. It can really suck, especially if you've been playing that character for a very long time. You know?
Right.
So it was a lot of fun to play a game where the idea going into it was you probably will not have this character this entire run. So make a character that you like, but, you know, and I encourage you to get invested in them, and you can do strongholds and we can do whatever you want, but accept the fact that there is a very real possibility that that character might die. If everybody's willing to make that concession, it can be a lot of fun to play something where...
Well, what you need to do is you need to make like 3 characters.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, so just have backups ready.
You don't get that attached to them.
Well, and I don't necessarily want you to not get attached to characters. You just need to be able... You just need to agree that you're okay with your character dying.
Yeah, that's why you buy 3 goldfish.
A lot of people, it's like, oh, my main character died. Now I have no more investment in this. I'm just done. You know, and that doesn't work out. That's not fun for anybody. But yeah, it can be a lot of fun. I like the idea of running a game where I can put you in situations where the correct answer is run away.
That's how Darkest Dungeon is. Both of those things. You know, you get attached to your characters, and I know Jason has complained to me. I don't know where he's at, but he has complained to me before on, I just lost this, you know, like a 6th level. It's hard to get to 6th level in Darkest Dungeon, you know, and you get somebody you really like, you invest a lot of time and, you know, currency into them, and then they die. But then the stagecoach is always going to bring new victims into the town that you can recruit, you know. And I like that. You can even go to the cemetery and visit your dead characters. And sometimes also, you do have to run away unless you want to be stupid and just do a party wipe. And, you know, you're not proud of it when you have to run away from an encounter, but at least you get to save some of your characters you have to recruit, to make up for the ones that were lost. But
Yeah.
I would love that sort of thing. I mean, those are the kinds of things that I like about Darkest Dungeon, in addition to the artwork. But yeah, I mean, if you do that sort of thing, let me know. I mean, because I'm interested.
Well, that sounds like a topic for another time.
Yeah.
That we should bring that one up. And but yeah, this was fun, guys. So, does anybody want to mention anything before they go? Any projects going on?
I don't think so.
Not really.
I'm working on my map.
All
Jason,
right.
you appeared.
Yeah.
Well, this was fun, guys. We should hang out more.
Yeah.
We should hang out more.
We should do that.
All right. See you next time.
All right.